Hey boys and girls, it is time to talk about price testing. So price testing is going to solve three problems for you. Number one, it's going to make sure that you find your optimal price point. So many of us, including myself, have had questions about, what is the right price point for my product? How do I figure it out? We're going to answer that question in this chapter. Number two, we're going to make sure that you know how to run pricing tests without pissing off your customers, without disenfranchising your customers, all that kind of good stuff. So make sure everyone feels good at the end of all this. And number three, we're going to provide you enterprise negotiating strategies. So how do you get into an enterprise sales situation and know that you're getting the optimal price for yourself, but also not scaring away your potential customers. So here we go. First thing you need to do when picking your pricing strategy is understand, are you using standardized pricing for everyone, or are you using customized pricing for individuals? So the difference is really simple. Standardized pricing is typically associated with B2C sales, but it's not restricted to. So I'm not calling it B2C sales, I'm calling it standardized pricing. I'll tell you why in a little bit, but it's basically where you have a published price, and the price is the same for everybody. So typically this is self-service sales, autonomous sales, something where people can buy something on their own without having a personal interaction with you or a member of your team. Typically these companies who are doing this will have a large number of customers at a lower price point than customized pricing. And they offer little to no customization of the actual offer. And so basically it's like, hey, here's our offering, here's our product, buy it, don't buy it. You may have different packages, so different models, and but the idea is like a price is set for the features that you get. So examples of this are apps in the App Store, any sort of entertainment content you're going to buy, songs, or if you go to the movies, if you're buying a software as a service, buying any sort of electronics, then these are typically going to be your standard pricing. The price is the price is the price. So we're going to have one way to optimize standardized pricing models. The other version of pricing model is customized pricing model. So this is typically associated with, not restricted to, enterprise sales. So you're usually thinking here, this is what we would consider sort of B2B sales, where you have a large enterprise that you're working on a larger contract with. But again, it's not necessarily restricted to those scenarios. So these typically have unpublished prices. They typically involve person-to-person sales, where you actually have a salesperson or a sales meetings. You're going to have fewer customers than a standardized pricing organization usually, but you can have a much higher price point. And then you often offer a high level of customization, so you'll tailor the offering to meet your customers' needs. So again, enterprise sales is a classic example here, but also car sales. Car sales have customized pricing. There is a published price, but it is typically higher than you will necessarily pay. So this is the difference between the two, and you're going to have to decide which model you're going to pick, and you'll probably know it shouldn't be too difficult to decide which one makes most sense for your customers, what are they used to. Alright, so based on what you decide, we'll pick a couple different optimization strategies. So you'll see in your price testing worksheet, there's the vision, there's the standardized pricing on the top and the customized pricing on the bottom, and you're going to pick the one that makes the most sense for you. So we're going to start with standardized pricing. You can see that the strategy for optimizing your standardized pricing is A/B price testing. So we're going to call on our earlier currency optimization strategies, namely our currency A/B testing optimizations. And we're just going to go over those principles real quick just to remind you what's going on here. So A/B testing principle number one, statistical significance matters. As you go through these tests, it's important that you're going to reach statistical significance before you make any decision on what price point is going to be optimal for you. Number two, this is not just for B2C, we've already talked about this, it's for anything that's standardized pricing. So there are a lot of SaaS apps that are B2B. So even though you're selling to another business, doesn't mean that you can't A/B test your price point. Number three, avoid multivariate testing. When we do these tests, you're not allowed to change anything besides the price. So as you're running people through this test, don't also change the headline, don't change the offering, don't change the pictures, don't change the colors. The only thing you're changing on your test is the price. Number four, no touching. Make sure you let the experiment run for this entire length. And number 5, run these in parallel, not serial. So you want to be running 2 pricing tests side by side. You don't want to run one for a certain amount of time and then run the other one. You want to run both of them during the same time so that you can get valid results. Because we talked about this earlier, but we talked about it earlier. Okay, now the secrets to A/B price testing. So what you're going to do basically is you're going to offer your product for one price to one customer and another price to another customer. And this can feel really scary because it's very natural to feel afraid that one customer is going to find out that they paid more for a product than someone else. Also, there's concerns that, hey, I don't actually have anything available yet. I need to figure out what my optimal price is before I start building my product. So how do I optimize my price point before I build something? So those are the 2 concerns we're going to take care of right now. We're going to take the second concern first. And the secret to A/B price testing is to combine it with your pre-orders. So you want to be basically price testing on your pre-order page. So when we took the how to pre-sell anything worksheet, you had a certain price that you were asking for, and then you had your recovery plan, all that kind of good stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to compare what happens if you have one price point at something here. So here I have a price point at $49. What happens if I increase that to $99? So we're going to compare $49 to $99. So we're going some people are going to pay $49 and some people are going to pay $99. So that's really as simple as it is. You're just going to do your A/B testing, price testing on a pre-order page, pre-sales page. All right, so now ensure that if we're charging 2 different people 2 different prices, how do we ensure that we don't upset our customers, the people who are paying more for a product than the other? 2 things I want to call out. Number 1 is that most people won't care that much. There's a couple reasons why. Number 1, the people who are purchasing your product are early adopters, and they are less price sensitive than early majority and late majority. So they've paid what they think is a valuable amount of currency for your offering. So they're not going to be overly upset, and they're not crazy bargain hunters. So that's number 1. Number 2, it's very unlikely they will actually interact with each other and actually talk about what they paid for a product. They will probably assume that everyone paid the same amount. But if they do find out, and then definitely consider making sure everyone who is concerned about it gets the lowest price. So there's a couple ways to go about this. Number 1 is just to sort of blank check everyone, no matter what price they paid, everyone ends up paying the lowest price. And this is easy to do when you have pre-orders. You simply have everyone who has purchased the product to charge them at the lowest price that you charge for everyone. So the logic behind here is that the data itself on what is your optimal price is actually more valuable than the actual currency that you're asking for. And so it's a small price to pay to get the data that you need to go forward. Another approach is to simply offer the lowest price to the people who share some concern about this issue. Or maybe offer a discount to folks. So that is a way to go and make sure that you can alleviate any of these concerns. But like I said, for the most part, this isn't going to be a huge problem because your early adopters are not as price sensitive as other customer segments, and so if they've put the money down to purchase something, they probably already believe it's a good value to help solve their problem. All right. So with that said, we've got our what we're going to do now is we're going to start filling in our A/B price testing worksheet. What you're going to start with is the revenue per blank. So here you're going to put in what is the appropriate metric for you. So it's either revenue per visitor, or revenue per user, or maybe revenue per lead. So revenue per maybe email, subscriber list, whatever it is. So you're going to put in revenue per customer here, basically. And the reason why we're doing that as opposed to conversion rate is that we're ultimately going to be charging higher prices. We're going to put one price down and then a higher price and a higher price, and we may end up getting lower conversion rates but it may turn out that we generate more revenue per visitor even though we have a lower conversion rate because we're charging more money. So that's what we're going to measure on the y-axis. On the x-axis, you're going to put the 3 prices down from your Science of Pricing worksheet. So in this case, we have $49, $99, and $199. So we're going to put those in there for our sheet here. And what we're looking for is to try and find, back in that Science Pricing exercise, we were looking for that quality hump, that place where as price increases, we actually see more units being moved. So that's what we're looking for here, especially in terms of revenue per visitor. So we've got $49 as our first price point, and then revenue per visitor came out to be about $2.35. Revenue per visitor for $99 price point turned out to be $6.17, and revenue per visitor at $149 turned out to be $3.39. So you can see we actually have discovered that quality hump, that point where we're actually generating higher revenue per visitor at a higher price point. All right, so that is the fundamental. That is what A/B price testing looks like, and that is exactly how it works, and that's how to avoid any pitfalls with doing it. Right. So that's standardized pricing, A/B price testing. Now let's talk about optimizing your customized pricing strategy. So in this case, what we're looking for is a budget-based pricing approach. So we're going to try to identify the budget of our customer and design a pricing offer that is going to optimize our currency but also provide them an optimal solution. So that's our goal, is to understand what their budget is. So there are 2 approaches we've got here. The first is t-shirt pricing and the second is limit testing. So the way we do t-shirt pricing, the way we discover the budget of our customers for our budget-based pricing is very simple. We ask our customer, what's your budget? So we're going to come right out and we're going to ask them, what's your budget? Now the logic here, while your customer may even sort of grumble at this and wonder, like, why are you asking me what my budget is? The logic here is that, let's say we are going in and we really have no idea what their budget is to solve a particular problem. It could be anywhere between $500 to $5,000 to $50,000 to solve a problem. And if we have no clue what they want, and we start assuming that they want a $500 solution, but they're actually looking for a $50,000 solution, then we're going to really underwhelm them, and we're basically going to waste their time and your time. And so the way this conversation goes is you say something like, sounds great, we would love to solve this problem. I'd love to know what your budget is for this project. And they may ask, oh, why do you need to know our budget? And then you can say something like, well, if your budget is in the $50,000 range and we offer you a $500 solution, that is going to underwhelm you, and it's not going to be satisfactory to your needs, and it's largely going to be a waste of your time and hours. If your budget is in the $500 range and we offer you a $50,000 solution, it's going to be equally as useless because you aren't going to be able to leverage it. So what we're looking for is a general sense of what your budget is, so that we can make sure that we tailor something to meet your needs. And then what we can do in return is we can offer you 3 different options based on what your budget is. We'll offer you something that's at your budget, to meet your needs. We'll offer you something that's less than your budget, so that if we want to try and come in under, we'll tell you exactly what we do to come in under that budget. Or we'll also show you, hey, what we can do for slightly more than your budget, just so you have a sense of what's available out there. And so the logic here is that it's sort of a win-win for everyone involved if you're able to have an open discussion about what their budget looks like, just so you're not wasting anybody's time with something outlandish. So another example, the $550,000 example, note to self is too extreme. It feels unreasonable. A better example would be 5,000 versus 500. So let's replace that 500 number with 5,000, and then talk about, hey, $5,000 solution is not going to be helpful if your budget is $50,000. Okay, moving on. So the answer they give you, if they're savvy negotiators, will actually be slightly lower than their actual budget. So if their budget is $50,000, they will give you a budget of, our budget's, it's around $40,000, maybe $40,000, something like that. And that's just to give them room so that when you come in, if you come in above, they still have some negotiating room. They may give you their actual budget, but it's best to count on them giving you a budget that's actually slightly lower than their actual budget, and that's fine. What we're looking for is just a nice ballpark so that you have something to aim towards, so that you can optimize your currency, but then optimize their solution as well. All right. So in our case, we're going to ask someone, hey, what's your budget? They're going to tell us a budget of $8,000, and so all we're going to do is we're going to come up with 3 different offers. One offer that is 75% of their budget, one offer that's exactly on their budget, and one offer that's slightly above their budget. And again, this is going to solve some do something very cool for us. The first is at the lower price point. What we're going to do is we're going to set ourselves up to compete with anyone who's trying to sort of undercut and come in with sort of low cost. So a lot of people, when there's a sort of a budget number in mind, some people will basically come with just one offer. They'll come with the best offer, and they may come at it's slightly low. So they may come at 6,900, something like that. So what you're doing at the 75% budget level, at the small in the T-shirt analogy, is you're basically saying we are willing to compete at the low end of the range, and your offer will reflect that. So in this case, let's say I was going to do some workshops. For $6,000, I might offer a half-day workshop and then 50% off my books. So that what that's saying is, hey, I'm willing to compete at the low end. However, I'm not going to give you everything that I would at my full price. So at the full price, at 100%, for $8,000, I'll give you a full-day workshop and then free books for everyone who participates. So here's what I can offer at your budget, and this is a fair price for me, and it's a fair value for them, all that kind of good stuff. But what we also want to do is we want to offer the large option. And what the large does is it sort of pushes the boundary of their budget to make sure that they're giving you the optimal currency to meet your needs while still offering them additional value. So what you do here is you say, hey, you know what? For a little bit more, for 25% extra, which is probably their most likely budget for $10,000, I can give you a full-day workshop, free books, plus a month's worth of mentoring for your team. So by understanding their budget and then T-shirt pricing the different options associated with it, you can cover your bases. You can both compete at the low-cost level against any other people who are bidding on something, but also push the budget up a little bit higher in the event that they've given you a budget number that's actually lower than their real hard budget number. And of course, the medium just absolutely respects where they're coming from and what their real budget may be. So from here, you can have a great conversation about what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. If you don't need the full month mentoring, then maybe the medium makes sense, but maybe their budget is only $6,000. So anyway, it sets you up to have a really great conversation where you're collaborating to find the optimal solution for you both. So that is T-shirt pricing. So now what happens if you don't know the budget? Let's say they don't answer the question, or you just don't get the chance to ask them about their budget. The other option you've got is something called limit testing. Limit testing is very similar to T-shirt pricing, except you're sort of operating in the blind. You don't know what their actual budget is. So in this case, what you're going to do is you're going to make basically sort of one offer. It's going to be one offer, but it's going to combine two things. It's going to combine a core offer and a supplement offer. So the core offer is what you would be satisfied with from this client. So both in terms of what value you're delivering and the currency you're asking for. So put a number in here that would make you satisfied and say, this would be a good get for our team. So this is the core offering. And in this case, it'd be $7,500 for a full-day workshop and free books for everybody. So that's the core offering. Now, the supplement is something extra that you can add on to your core offering that provides additional value and gives you an opportunity to increase your price so that you can test the upper limit of the customer's budget. So the way this works is that you'd put something else extra, like, okay, so in this case I'm gonna put in one offer, and it's gonna combine both of these things. Right? One offer is gonna be not for $7,500 or even $5,000. I'm gonna put one offer that's gonna be for $12,500. It's gonna include the full day workshop, free books, plus 3 months of mentoring. So it's gonna be the whole thing. And the idea here is that we're trying to discover our customer's budget limit by offering a number of things, both a core offering and a supplemental offering. It gives us the opportunity that if we end up exceeding their budget limits, we have something that we can cut, something that we can easily pull back, and they don't feel like we are trying to just make up the price on the fly, because everything that we're offering has a value associated with it. So it's not like we're offering $12,500, they say, oh, you know what, our budget is only $7,500, and then you say, okay, well, we can do it all for $7,500. That's going to make them not feel confident that you can actually that you know what you're doing. So what you do is you add on a supplemental offering, and then if it turns out that their budget is much lower than what your combined offering is, you have something you can easily cut and still instill confidence in the customer that you can solve their problem. Okay, so when you do this combined offering, it can feel a little scary in that, oh my gosh, I'm going to put together something that's really large. I'm going to put something together that is very likely going to exceed their budget, and that's the intention here. The reason why we do this is it's called limit testing, is because we're trying to test the limit. We're trying to find out what their budget actually is, so that we can have an open conversation about optimizing your currency and optimizing a solution to their problem. We do that by understanding what their full budget is. Now, the reason this works is that, and the secret to limit testing is that if you have done a good job understanding the problem and they believe that you can solve it, so if you're solving their real problem, they will not walk away over money. So if you're solving a significant pain that this customer has, and you understand the problem and they have confidence that you can solve it, if you have a high price point, they're not simply going to walk away just because, oh my gosh, they had a high price, but I'm not even going to engage with them anymore. Customized pricing and customized sales interactions don't work that way. They often do in standardized pricing, where it's like, oh my gosh, that price is just ridiculous and out of hand. I'm just walking away. I'm not even going to engage anymore. But by this time, you've had several one-on-one conversations with these people. They are confident that you're going to solve the problem. And simply by offering something that's too high of a price point, they're not just going to walk away and give up on everything they've invested so far. What they'll come back with is say, oh my gosh, we really like to work with you, but that your quote is just not something that's in our budget. Our budget is ... and they will tell you what their actual budget is. And then from there, you can go and modify your offer, and you can have that conversation around what is the optimal price point. So leverage that fact that someone won't walk away over simply a price tag. Now, what you're also doing is you're leveraging the fact that if their budget is much higher than you expect, you may be able to get all of the things that you want. You may be able to get both your core and your supplement paid for, and the ability to provide the offerings that are part of both of those without any problems at all. They may just say, okay, let's go ahead. So that's what you're giving yourself the opportunity to do there. All right, so that is the overview of standardized pricing and customized pricing. One other thing I want to mention is that these processes, if you do them for customized pricing enough, you may end up finding a very common price point. And as you get more confident in your pricing strategy after running these experiments, you may be able to start standardizing a formally customized price. So if you see over and over and over again that people are having the same budget and looking to pay the same amount, then you can start to standardize that, and you can make a more efficient sales cycle that way. Okay, so this has been standardized pricing and all of its goodness as compared to customized pricing and its goodness. So the problems we solved, we've helped you understand what your optimal price is, including several strategies on how to identify that. Told you how to run price testings without pissing customers off, and of course we've given you some enterprise negotiating strategies on optimizing your price point. So next up, what if they're not buying it? So you've gone and you've put together some currency tests. What do you do if you're just not meeting your currency conversion rates. So how do you go and figure out why you're not meeting your currency conversion rates? All right, this has been price testing.